Go ahead and, Senator Gomez, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senators. Good morning. In 2004, California became the first state to implement a paid family leave insurance program. And under that program, workers pay 1% of their salary into the SDI program and receive a wage replacement of 55% for up to 6 weeks to care for a new child or a sick relative. Paid family leave is a lifeline for a lot of working families. But after 10 years, we have learned that it may be out of reach and unaffordable for thousands of Californians. Last year, the California Senate Office of Research released a 10-year report on the paid family leave program, specifically looking at who benefited and what was learned. And what we have seen over the past 10 years is that there is an increase of number of claims of people taking paid family leave from 150,000 in 2004 and 2005 to approximately 215,000 in 2012 and 2013, which is a good thing. However, when we take a closer look, we see that the percentage of claims by those making over 72,000 has increased during the past 10 years, and nearly 20% of all claims are by individuals making over 84,000 a year. While at the same time, the claims filed by those making up to 24,000 a year has actually decreased during that same period of time. Although the program has benefited millions of Californians, the way it is currently structured is fundamentally inequitable because those at the lowest rungs of the economic ladder can never afford to take 6 weeks off at 55% of their wage and don't have the necessary job protection to have the confidence to take the leave and have their job when they actually come back. The report and other studies have made numerous recommendations, but more particularly focused on 3 recommendations to create a more robust program. One is offering job protection for those and the lowest rungs of the economic ladder. Senator Jackson has a bill that tries to deal with that issue. The second is increased outreach. That's why we included money in the budget, and that's why the EDD received a federal grant to increase outreach. And third, but not least, of course, is increased wage replacement, and that's my bill. Specifically, AB 908 makes 2 major improvements to the paid family leave program. First, it increases wage replacement rate from 55% to 65 to 80% depending on income. Those making minimum wage or less will receive 80% of wage replacement. Those making minimum wage to 60,000 will receive 75%, and even those making above 60,000 will see an increase from 55 to 65%. The current wage replacement rate is just too low for anybody to take the time off, because if they're already living paycheck to paycheck on 100% of their salary, what makes us think that they're actually going to take the time off and live on 50% of their paycheck? So we want to structure a new program that increases the wage replacement, so it's not just a benefit on paper, but a benefit in actuality. Second, it actually increases the time that people can take off from 6 to 10 weeks. And one of the important things that nearly every industrialized country has a longer paid family leave program than we do. And this is something that California continue to lead on. I believe that this bill will make this program a reality for a lot of Californians, that regardless of your socioeconomic standings, no matter where you're at on the economic ladder, that you're actually going to be able to use a program that you pay into. And right now, we have a program that people pay into, but they can't truly ever use. So I believe that my bill is one of the 3 legs of the stool that's necessary to create a robust and expansive and equitable paid family leave program. But before I close, I want to acknowledge the very late opposition expressed by the California Federation of Labor. As many of you know, I have worked alongside labor, advocated for workers' rights, and supported numerous priority measures. I was the political director of the United Nurses Associations of California, a political representative of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, and I don't think anybody can challenge my labor and worker credentials. I believe that in labor we always have family disagreements, and we always get beyond those disagreements, and I believe we will definitely get beyond this one. But I respectfully acknowledge their concerns, and we'll try to work with them as this bill moves forward.
Councilmember, for your comments, and we will have two supporters speak in favor, and the rest will be add-on, and then we'll have the opposition come forward, and we'll go have that discussion that you just so mentioned. So please proceed.
Hello, this is Jenya Cassidy. I'm with the California Work and Family Coalition. I'd like to give my time over to two coalition members who are here, but I just want to say that for us, paid family leave is a really key program. We're a labor community coalition, and we really appreciate Assemblymember Gomez's leadership on this. For us, we have an opportunity in California to make our program something that really truly works for all workers, and that's our goal as a coalition, and we're really looking forward to continuing to work on this. So I'll give my time to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Julia Parrish, and I'm a lawyer for the Legal Aid Society Employment Law Center, which is a nonprofit legal organization that advocates on behalf of low-wage workers. As you know, California led the nation establishing the paid family leave program, and it is a program that provides partial paid time off to care for a seriously ill family member or bond with a new child. Currently, the program replaces wages at 55% for up to 6 weeks per year. Since its implementation, paid family leave has provided essential benefits to over 1.8 million working families in California, improving the health and well-being of families across the state. Studies have shown that when workers have access to paid leave to care for their families, ill family members recover more quickly, and nursing home stays and hospitalizations are often avoided or delayed. In addition, paid family leave has doubled the median duration of breastfeeding rates among women who use it, and has doubled the amount of fathers that take bonding leave or paternity leave to be with their children. So we've seen all of those improvements since the program's inception in California. The majority of workers expect that they will need to take a leave within the next 5 years, but only 13% of the workforce received paid family leave benefits directly from their employers. So a large number of the workforce depends on these benefits that are entirely worker funded. This program is administered by the Employment Development Department and is based entirely on a paycheck deductions that comes only from employees, not from employers. Paid family leave has been a lifeline for working families. However, the benefits limitations of 6 weeks per year causes some workers not to be able to enjoy the full amount of time that they're entitled to under the California Family Rights Act. So, for example, the California Family Rights Act provides up to 12 weeks of unpaid time off for eligible workers. And because of the shorter duration of paid family leave benefits, only 6 weeks, many low-wage workers are unable to take advantage of the full 12 weeks that they are entitled to. So at the Employment Law Center, we have a work and family helpline, and we hear from between 1,000 and 2,000 workers a year. Recently, I spoke to a new mother who was a low-wage worker who worked at a laundromat, and she was incredibly grateful to have received paid family leave benefits and to learn about the program, but she had to choose to return to work as soon as her 6 weeks of paid family leave benefits was over, because it was already extremely hard to make ends meet with a new baby, and even though she could have taken more time to be with her new child, the idea of taking unpaid leave was completely illusory for her. It was not a realistic choice to take unpaid leave. And her story is very common. Additionally, the paid family leave benefits replacement rate is too low, and this is particularly true for low-wage workers. Low-wage workers live paycheck to paycheck, and they need every penny every month. And in order just to meet their very basic needs. Last month, I spoke to a new father who had a new baby, and he worked as a gardener. He was their family's sole breadwinner. He called because he had questions about paid family leave, specifically about the wage replacement rate. And for him and his family, as the sole breadwinner, he simply could not afford to take any time off at 55%, and he did not take any time off to be with his new child or to help his wife care for the new child and their other children during this particularly difficult time. And that was a difficult decision for him, but he was not able to do it. No one should have to choose between being there to take care of their family members and being able to put food on their table. And I also want to acknowledge the concerns that were recently raised by the Labor Fed and just say that we are really committed to working with them to help achieve some of their goals in the long term, but we feel like this is a valuable measure that can help working families now. And for those reasons, I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary Ignatius. I'm the statewide organizer for Parent Voices, which is a grassroots group of parents fighting for access to quality, affordable childcare and work supports that help lift families out of poverty. So I speak on behalf of those families who would greatly benefit from this bill, but I also speak from personal experience because I was able to utilize the paid family leave program, so I just wanted to briefly talk to you about that. When I was pregnant with my second child, I found out that he was going to be born with something called bilateral club feet. Little did I know that it's one of the most common birth defects, but one that I had never heard of, and we have no family history of it. It's just something when the bones and the tissues are forming in the womb, it just goes awry. So when he was born, his feet were literally like this. They looked like golf clubs. And I learned that if I followed a treatment that if I was disciplined and regimented and consistent, he had a 95% chance for it to be corrected. And so when he was 10 days old, we went to the doctor. He was casted from the toe to the thigh. We went in weekly. They'd cut off the cast, they'd put more casts on. That went on for 6 weeks. At the 7th week mark, they cut his Achilles tendon to release his tendons, more casts, and then eventually braces. And he was wearing those braces for 23 hours a day. Now he's almost 2, and he's only wearing them at night. He's walking, he's running, he's playing soccer. It's amazing. But I attribute that to having state disability pregnancy leave and paid family leave, because I was able to be his mom, not his working mom, not his I have to go to a meeting mom, I have to work on the weekend mom, just his loving, nurturing, caregiving mom. And, excuse me, it reminds me of a quote from U.S. Secretary of Labor, Tom Pettis, who says, you shouldn't have to choose between the family you love and the job that you need. And I didn't have to make that choice. I got to be both. But for so many of the low-income mothers and fathers that we work with every day, they are making tremendous sacrifices, and they don't get that choice because they don't have access. And while this is a universal program, it's not a fully accessible program. And this bill really addresses the inequity. You've heard about the inequity of wages. If you're making $8 to $10, $12 an hour, taking home 55% of that when you're the sole breadwinner, when you need every dollar to pay for rent, to pay for your bills, it's not doable. And I also think this is a bill about creating equity for respect and dignity for parenting, and it shouldn't matter what income you make. And so for all of those reasons, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Please, any others in support?
Erin Gable on behalf of First 5 California, and strong support because of the equity of access to this crucial nurturing time for all working poor families. Thank you.
Kimberly Chen on behalf of the California Pan-Ethnic Health Network, in strong support.
Thank you.
United Food and Commercial Workers in support.
Hi, this is Jennifer Reich, Equal Rights Advocates, and we're in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
AARP is in strong support of this bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Matt Seiberling on behalf of the Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, the Riverside Sheriff's Association, California Narcotics Officers Association, the California Association of Code Enforcement Officers, Association of Deputy District Attorneys, and the Los Angeles Probation Officers Union, ASME Local 685, all in support. Thank you.
Sandra Poole with the California Black Health Network, in strong support.
Thank you.
Good morning, David Chase with Small Business Majority, in support.
Thank you.
Raji Prasad, National Association of Social Workers, in support.
Kirk Blackburn on behalf of the United Nurses Associations of California, in support.
Erin Evans on behalf of the Small School Districts Association and the School Employers Association of California, in support.
Brandon Roberts here on behalf of the Health Officers Association of California, and we're in support.
Thank you. Any others in support? Seeing none, we can have opposition step forward, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Angie Wei on behalf of the California Labor Federation, not awesomely here in opposition, but we are at this point in time opposed to this measure. First, let me say that we have no question of the credentials, the motivation, the interest, the rationale behind this bill and of this author. He is a strong defender of working families, and we're not here to question that whatsoever. We are here, though, to raise what we consider significant enough policy questions that we think should be raised and deliberated in the policy committee here. Just a little bit on background, the California Labor Federation is very proud to have been a part of the movement to create paid family leave in 2004. We wholeheartedly support the program. All the benefits that we heard from the supporters about it, we agree and stipulate to all of them. The question before us is, who pays for a benefit increase and where does it go? And that's where I'd like to go through a little bit about some policy questions. Number one, should disabled workers earn less in benefits than workers out on paid family leave? The State Disability Insurance Trust Fund pays out disability insurance and paid family leave benefits. All of us, almost all private sector workers and many public sector workers, all contribute to the State Disability Insurance Program to pay both of these benefits. Should the worker who's disabled, who cannot work because of a back injury, back surgery, hip replacement, cancer, whatever it is, you cannot work, should that person earn less than somebody who's out on family leave? If we're all paying the same, should we be bifurcating the system for disabled workers? Two workers similarly situated, one cannot work because of their medical disability needs, one is out on family leave. Should we have bifurcated benefits? Second point on this, it was raised prior by one of the other compelling support witnesses. State disability insurance and paid family leave are integrated programs. A pregnant woman can get state disability insurance through the last weeks of her pregnancy should the doctor require it. Then after the birth of the baby, she may be eligible for more state disability insurance benefits. And then she transitions to paid family leave. Does it make sense to pay a lower rate at state disability insurance than when that worker transitions to paid family leave? We are very concerned about bifurcating the system and leaving behind what may be an equally vulnerable community, which is workers who cannot work because of their injuries off work. This is not workers' comp, I should say, but for their injuries that they sustained and cannot work. Second policy question. Should every worker in the state disability insurance system pay an increased contribution to go to a benefit increase for 12% of the dollars? When you look at the State Disability Insurance Trust Fund, 12% goes out in paid family leave benefits. That means 88% goes out in state disability insurance benefits. Should we all pay more to benefit 12% of the dollars? I want to raise here the issue of worker contribution rates. This bill, per ED estimates that we've heard, could raise SDI tax rates 0.3 up to a maximum of 0.3%. The SDI tax rate currently is 0.9, scheduled to be 1.0 next year. That is a 30% increase in worker contribution rates. It is a social insurance program, so we support this, but we do want to see what it means for workers. How much more are we going to pay? That means for a 30% tax rate increase, for a $25,000 earner, it's $75 extra a year. For a $50,000 earner, it's $150 extra a year to pay for the increase. For a $75,000 earner, it's $225 a year. Some could argue that isn't a lot, but it is just to remind ourselves each year, every year, while we're working. Now, that number may come up and down depending on the health of the trust fund, but broadly speaking, that would be an annual increase to pay for this benefit increase. Next issue. Should all workers pay for a benefit increase that will be utilized by earners over $100,000? So I draw your attention, please, committee members, to these two documents that I've passed out. The first is the one that the author represents, which is from I think it's a 2014 SOR report, Senate Office of Research report, total paid family leave claims by income, and this is in 2013. And what this distribution tells us is the way I see this right away, there's something going on potentially in the kind of middle income range here. People at the high range are utilizing the program, and it's weird. It looks like people at the low range are kind of utilizing it too, similarly to the high range people. So then we had to ask this question. This is total claims. How do we get to a per capita number? Why is these numbers the way they are? So we have to ask what percent of the workforce is in each of these income bands. So if you turn the page, please, these are numbers that we received late because we asked late, quite frankly, from EDD. And this is total claims for the year 2014. It's not marked that way, but I've verified it as 2014. And the way that you read this is, on the left-hand side, it's quarterly base period. So this is what you earn in a quarter. So if you look at the second to last line, that's $25,000 to $27,500. That is on an annualized basis, $100,000 to $110,000 a year. You draw across to that 15.54%. What does that mean? 15.54% of all California workers earning in this band, $100,000 to $110,000, take paid family leave. That's awesome. You can look down the band, lower income levels, it's it's between 1% and 3%. When you look at it based on percent of workforce in these income bands, it looks like workers who earn less than $100,000 a year, broadly speaking, on average take between 1% and 3% of all earners who earn less than $100,000 a year are taking paid family leave. The distribution is not that different across these income scales. I'd like to argue we should get all those numbers up and look at how to deal with that 15.54%. Are we all going to pay for a benefit increase that's going to go to the highest wage earners? The Assembly member is correct. The data shows that the trend lines are higher income earners are taking paid family leave more, lower income earners are taking paid family leave less. If we go with those trend lines, that means the increase in worker contributions is going to go to fund a benefit increase for those earning $100,000 or more. Next policy question, number 4, and I appreciate the indulgence, I'm almost done. Number 4, should all workers pay for a benefit increase that some employers offer voluntarily already? At this high wage of the income scale, $100,000 or more, the higher up you go, the more likely your employers are going to offer this type of benefit. There are employers out there who offer more than what we pay for in paid family leave. They'll buy you up from that 55% replacement rate to potentially 100%. They'll buy you longer in weeks. Some employers are doing that voluntarily already because they think it's good policy and they want to retain their workers. Should we, the workers, be experiencing the cost shift of what it's going to be savings for those employers? Google offers, this is from an internet search, so I'll own that, but it is a published article, 2014. Google offers 22 weeks of paid family leave. Facebook, Instagram, Reddit offer both parents 17 paid weeks. Yahoo offers mothers 16 paid weeks, fathers 8 weeks. Change.org just announced they're going to offer both parents 18 weeks of paid family leave. So when we extend benefits from 6 weeks to 10, it used to be that for some high-wage workers, their employers were paying for that and more. Now under this bill, that cost is going to be borne by the workers. Last point, I was always taught by my mentor, Tom Rankin, and the past president emeritus of the California Labor Federation, that you always want to look at what's in the bill and then what's missing. So there are a couple of key things I'd like to point out in terms of what's missing. The author absolutely acknowledged it, Senator Jackson's bill dealing with job protection. There's a reason why I fear employers aren't opposing this bill. They don't pay for the benefit, and for a lot of them, they don't have to keep our jobs when we come back. That means, sure, go and take your leave. You don't have a job when you come back. I've hired somebody else the next day. One big piece missing, and we are concerned. I believe Senator Jackson's bill is on the chamber job killer list. There's a reason why the employers are opposed. That's where a lot of this nut is. Second issue, and I have to raise, and I apologize if this is too much, but when you take a step back and look at what's happening in the social insurance programs for workers, we've got to compare DI, paid family leave, and the unemployment insurance system. Unemployment insurance, 100% employer paid. Taxable wage base at $7,000 takes a 2/3 vote to increase the taxes. Benefits level, maximum weekly benefit level, $450. State disability insurance, paid family leave, 100% worker funded. Taxable wage base of $105,000 as opposed to $7,000, and indexed. So we pay more every year. The employers are locked in at $7,000. We pay more and we get better benefits based on what we pay. So state disability and paid family leave, maximum weekly benefits, almost $1,100 a week, as opposed to $450 on unemployment insurance. So just in terms of what workers need in the ups and downs of our work life, we really need to look at unemployment insurance too and put together the political energy to rectify that system and deliver better benefits for laid off workers there. I very much appreciate the indulgence of the committee in allowing me to lay out our policy questions. I very much appreciate the motivations and the hard work of this author and the staff and all the supporters of the bill. I, too, believe that there is somewhere we can go together on this bill to improve the program for the working poor. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments and your questions. I'm sure we'll get the chance to answer them in a minute. I know there's a few people that want to add on as opponents. In the opposition, please go ahead and say your name and who you represent.
Mr. Chair, members, Deanna Johnston on behalf of the California Nurses Association.
Angie.
I think Ms. Way summarized our concerns and opposition. We too believe the bill is well-intentioned and hope that there can be some sort of compromise moving forward.
Thank you.
Very broad with the Teamsters. We haven't taken a position on this because of the lateness, but I just want to make one point. The SDI system is all there is for a permanently disabled person. In other words, you get cancer, you're sick, you can't work anymore, you don't get unemployment insurance because you quit. You can't get permanent disability insurance from the Social Security system for a year. That's the gap that SDI fills. So the obvious fairness here is not to pit these programs against one another, but to equalize it out among all the programs paid for by SDI. And we would ask that the author consider that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. You stay seated, and in case there's questions here from members. Any members want to ask questions? We'll start with Senator Mitchell and then Senator Jackson.
Let me start by saying I am in receipt of the June 22nd letter. Thank you for the chart today. But let me just say, as Senator Jackson says, she's a reformed, recovering attorney. As a recovering committee consultant, analyses are critical to me as a policymaker because when opposition is included, the analysis can then include other pieces of light. So the fact that it was late and the committee consultants weren't able to include it in the analysis and then analyze it also is problematic, particularly given the fact that this is the policy committee and you are raising some very heavy, critical, core fundamental policy issues that I'm sure didn't come up June 22nd. So let me just say that the challenge with being late is that it's not in the analysis and then we're not given that opportunity to look at other related legislation, particularly when you're now considering, because my sense of the laundry list that I was trying to follow, and Mr. Broad's comment at the end is the challenge is this legislation now separates it from state disability. So is your point, if you included a tiering system for disability, that would then be okay?
Thank you, Senator Mitchell, for the question. If I may just start by saying we apologize for our late opposition. We were late. We missed the analysis, but we weren't late to today. So I think that there's a little bit of an area, but I appreciate your very significant point, which is that we're lacking in the analysis.
Right.
And we appreciate and we apologize for that. Quite honestly, as I started with, it's very hard for me to be up here opposing this bill in an opposition frame, right? This is not easy for us. We have had long deliberations internally with our unions, with our affiliates about where to go on this issue because we support the motivation wholeheartedly. And quite frankly, as we were discussing it internally, the bill came off the assembly floor with no opposition and 62 votes, and we thought, holy crap, holy cow, we better get serious now and really start looking into this. And then some of these concerns, the fundamental concerns, have been expressed to the author's office staff since March 18th. We've gone back to look at our records to see how off mark we've been here. And we've been expressing these concerns, but we didn't want to come out in opposition. We want to figure something out. We do want to, so we didn't have a place to go here because we haven't been able to communicate yet with the author director to see where we can go here, right? There are some potential places we think we can go, but we need to cost them out, figure out the distribution of that increase in cost, and figure out if that's something that everybody's willing to pay for.
So is the argument that state disability insurance should be tiered also?
It could be. We need to look at that, right? And I think it's worth looking
Because
at.
that would go to the equity issue.
Right now, state disability insurance, it's one trust fund, and we all pay one rate into that one trust fund. That trust fund pays out two benefits. Should those benefits be on the same benefit delivery schedule? Should they be at the same levels? And we would argue the bifurcation of those does run the risk of leaving behind disabled workers. Truth be told, paid family leave is a politically very popular program. There's a very strong advocacy community that we appreciate. They're terrific, and they have fought a good fight to win paid family leave and get it done right. Not so much activity for disabled workers on the other end, right?
Not sexy.
So,
right. Is it appropriate to assume that low-income earners' utilization won't pick up once we increase the percent of payment? And I'm asking that as I look at your chart and followed your argument where the vast majority of everybody under 100K a year is only 3%, and then it jumps. But maybe that's because it's at the 55%. Could we not argue that it may pick up if it's a higher rate? Because then the gardener may have been able to participate with, do you know the sweet spot? I don't know if it's fair to look at these numbers at 55% and therefore conclude that it wouldn't change with a higher reimbursement.
I think that's the right question, Senator Mitchell, and frankly, that's why we're not in a supportive amended oppose unless amended, because we don't know yet what that sweet spot is. I thought, listening to the story about the gardener, does 80% wage replacement get that gardener the ability to take paid family leave? For low-wage workers who are living paycheck to paycheck, can you afford a 20% pay cut? Can you afford a 10% pay cut? I think that's a question that we should be looking at, and I think that's where this discussion should be at. The concern is that the way that the bill is structured today, we know that the high wage earners, the over $100,000, are going to take the benefits. They can afford to.
Right.
So they're going to get 10 weeks, and they're going to get an increased replacement rate. And it's going to come at a cost, a 30% tax rate in cost. The numbers that we got from EDD do not take into account utilization. So that's just, if everybody uses it the way we do now, it's a at maximum, I should say, 30% tax rate increase. So if more people use it, that means the costs are going to go up. And there's another tax rate increase, right? And so I think that's where we should have that discussion. What are we willing to pay to get what for whom?